Hello and welcome. It's that day we have been waiting for. Yeah, it is the weekend and the program is live from Abuja. The show is a mix of politics, human angle stories, entertainment, lifestyle, and sports.
So if you are ready, we are also good to go.
I am Ademola Lawrence.
And I'm Jean Francis Mweze. Let's begin the show by telling you that all sanctions imposed on neighboring Niger following the coup in that country has been lifted. And barely 2 days after the reopening of the border between Nigeria and Niger, activities in the Jibia and other border areas are gradually returning to normal.
This is happening at the time, of course, the presidential order to reopen both land and airspace with the Niger Republic. Families across borders are now moving freely to see their relatives without any hindrance. We have more in this next piece.
Yanzu wannan budewai ya tattalin arzikin ku ya fara dawowa.
To gaskiya mu dai alhamdulillah inda da gaskiya da aka bayyana mu bude gurin da Allah mu ji farin ciki sosai wallahi.
Gode Allah ya kara dankon zumunci ubangiji Allah ka saka da alheri kuma duk wata cewa ne wadda za ta zama mana tsanani ga Allah ka mana manzon sauki inji Allah tsawace mana ubangiji Allah ka hana mu dankon zumunci.
To mun gode.
Rishin jin daɗi da yanayin da ake kuma kulli amma dai nan kuma sun sabon al'amari gaskiya musamman kuma da yake nan ba a samu ci gaba irin sauran wuraren da suke cewa sun da suna da wadda ba amma yanzu kila wani Allah mutane sai su tafi da si su kuma muna sa ran cewa shi al'amari zai wuce ko kuma yana wuce insha Allah.
Barely 48 hours that the federal government announced the reopening of land borders and airspace between Nigeria and Niger. As you can see behind me, a lot of movement and activities have already begun in earnest. Only bigger trucks are not allowed for now until operational modalities have been provided by the custom authorities before the border is fully opened. But dutiable items will have to be examined before they come into the country. From Jibia, TVC News On.
Now, in the next 3 months, Senator Abdul Ningi, representing Bauchi Central, will not be part of the Senate plenary session. This is because the senator has been suspended for making false allegations of budget padding to the tune of 3.7 trillion naira.
However, the Red Chamber offers to give Senator Ningi a soft landing, provided he tenders an unreserved apology through a letter addressed to the Senate. And shortly after the drama that ensued, Senator Ningi resigned his position as the chairman, Northern Senators Forum. But in another twist, the Senate cautioned the lawmaker representing Kano South, Sumaila Kawu, to refrain from posting items capable of causing division and breakdown of law and order.
Of course, that's an interesting development. It's a discussion that we need to have. But still in Abuja, where there has been a busy week in the Senate as lawmakers made moves to uncover the mystery behind the 30 trillion naira ways and means advance from the Central Bank of Nigeria under former President Buhari-led administration. Now, a 17-man panel member has been a sort of probe.
Well, Senator Issa Jibrin-led panel was inaugurated by the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, following a resolution of the lawmakers after considering a report of its Committee on Banking and Insurance. This and more will form part of our discussion in the studio as Jide Ojo joins us for more perspective to the issues at hand. But first, let's begin with the Niger border opening and the lifting of sanctions by the federal government.
I think it's a very interesting conversation that we actually need to have after ECOWAS, after that meeting, extraordinary meeting, the ECOWAS head of state had, now the President Bola Tinubu said that the sanctions should be lifted from Niger. Don't forget, it's Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso that the military junta were actually ruling, and sanctions were placed on by ECOWAS. Before now, it has always been the fact that ECOWAS have to fight tooth and nail to make sure that,
Yeah, but we've also had this, discussion back and forth in a couple of weeks when people said that ECOWAS needs to exert power or show some level of authority so that countries could, respect them. And we're even wondering why, why they were lifting the sanctions on Niger or considering it, because what's the economic power of Niger in terms of if they pull out, if they don't exist, how does it affect the, the economic power of ECOWAS? But I think they showed some level of brotherhood, senior brotherhood, and lifted the sanctions.
Nigeria, the fact is that Nigeria will always come to the party when it has to play that brotherhood
role.
And I think that's what actually happened for President Bola Tinubu to say, you know what, after all said and done, I think that we should just let this slide, So I think that it's a very good conversation that of course we need to have in terms of who gets what and how it's of course and how it affects Nigeria, economically, security,
the West African states,
and the West African states, So I think it's a very good one. You get, So of course, our guest is already in the studio, Mr. Jibia Ojo. Thank you very much for joining us today. A conversation that, of course, we need to have. Jane.
Well, so quickly, we're going to talk about, this. What economic implication do you think that the lifting of the sanctions, reopening rather, of the Jibia border will have on both countries?
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians. It's a pleasure and great honor, privilege to be on this breakfast show. So, what happened in the course of the week is a very welcome development because it's going to have salutary effect on both countries. Don't forget, since July last year, when the border was closed, the airspace was also closed. So, for Nigerian air travelers, they were having a very huge challenge on their hands because you have to fly, make a detour.
Instead of flying through Niger.
Yes, so you have to, and that was costing more. Yeah. The travelers have to pay more because of the distance they have to cover now. But in terms of trade, there are so many articulated vehicles who got stuck at the border when that decision was made. Many of their goods were rotting because it was not envisaged at the point. Nigeria and Niger have very great trade relationship in terms of farm produce, in terms of animal. Most of the rams and cattle that we eat in Nigeria are actually imported from there, including grains, beans, rice. A lot of them comes in from Niger. So, coming back to what will be the implication, I foresee in the coming weeks that prices of goods, particularly grains, will fall. We may likely see a downward trend in the cost of some of these grains, whether it's sorghum, rice, beans, albasa, tomatoes, those things that are naturally brought in from Niger. And this is a fasting period. You are also likely going to have the ram coming in ahead of Eid al-Kabir in about 4 months' time. So then the fact that the flight embargo has been lifted, now you can fly direct, so there should be a reduction in the cost to the air travelers. So they are quite diverse, even in terms of social relationship. I learned that 1 out of every 5 persons you see in Sokoto, Katsina are from Niger.
Yes.
So this was actually going to be my next question. So because with all this happening in the coming days, what should we look forward to in terms of security and maybe for the bilateral relationship between the two countries also?
It's a catch-22 in terms of security because now that we are ECOWAS, there is ECOWAS protocol that guarantees free movement of goods and persons. So you cannot stop Nigerians from coming, neither can you stop Nigerians from crossing the border to Niger. But you see, one of the good news is that Niger has been like a buffer zone between the Sahel, Libya, and the rest of them. So it has helped to keep the ISWAP and the insurgents, what's this name? ISIS.
Okay.
ISIS and ISWAP help us to keep them at bay, because when you look at the map of Africa, so you get from either Morocco, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, those countries that are in the top of African map, Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso comes next to them, and before you get to Nigeria. So they're like a buffer to all these ISIS and ISWAP. And now it is expected that with the full cooperation of the military junta in Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali, they will be able to help us hold those insurgents at bay. But on the flip side, given the porosity of our border, don't forget we have artificial borders. There is no, even Donald Trump that tried to build a wall against the Mexican border, he never succeeded. Exactly. So it's an artificial border. So people walk across the two countries. People walk from Nigeria to Niger and vice versa. Yeah. And that in itself, because we don't have a proper profiling system. Look at the elders farmers crisis we've had in Nigeria over the years. There are allegations that many of these elders comes in from Niger, from Mali, from Burkina Faso, from Mauritania, down, and they carry with them weapons, they carry with them even sometimes drugs and all of that. And because our borders, according to Nigeria Immigration Service, David Paradan, when he was the Controller General, many years back, about 7 to 8 years ago, he said Nigeria has about 1,400 illegal entry routes into this country. 1,400. As at that time, I don't know whether more has been created. Okay. So you just discovered 1,400 illegal entry routes. So while you are even opening Jibia, you are opening Ilela, there are many others that people just drive motorbikes across. So again, we are going to have issues with smuggling. Smuggling may resume in full force now. We are not growing enough food. Truth be told, we have food shortages. When you look at the food inflation is about above 35%. And people are already telling government, please bring in food from abroad. You need to saturate the local market to bring down the price. So now that the border has been officially open, you may find a lot of smuggling of, rice, food items coming in through those unmanned illegal entry routes. So there will still be security concerns, coupled with smuggling of small arms and light weapons, which we have had to contend with up to now. I learned over 2 million of these small arms and light weapons find their ways into Nigeria every year. And police authorities have not been able to mop up. Again, because there is, we do not have either automated monitoring mechanism of our border, or do we have enough personnel to ensure that we do proper profiling of
I think even the best of the world, when I say best of the world, UK, US, they still have issues with borders.
Sure.
So Nigeria is not left out of it, but we can just do better in terms of
securing the borders.
But you can have satellite surveillance system in place.
Yeah. So, but this is where I'm going with my question. Now that the border has been reopened, we have shortage of food. Niger is more like our neighbors that we get food from over time. Do you think that the high cost of food will now reduce as a result of this, putting into consideration that even before the closure of the border, there's been a rising cost of food Do you think this will ameliorate it, or how do you think this will play out?
That's why I said in my earlier remark that it's expected that this might crash to an extent the cost of food. But before I forget, there is also one critical issue that I need to also bring to the viewers' attention, which is the restoration of the light, because we provide certain power electricity for Niger.
Yeah.
That was disconnected when the embargo came, or the economic sanctions. So that will be restored now. So again, it will be to the benefit of Nigerians, because they will be able to get cheaper electricity rather than relying on solar and off-grid, electricity. So it's still going to be symbiotic relationship, win-win for both sides. But in terms of food pricing, even if initially, because what drives price is law of demand and supply.
Yeah. So,
do we know for a fact that Niger has been able to produce excess that it can export? We don't have that question. We don't have that answer.
That data.
We don't have that data. Then I saw footage last week where Nigerian customs stopped those who are trying to truck out food from the Maiduguri, somewhere in Borno State.
Yeah.
They were trucking into Central African Republic and Cameroon and Chad. That tells you something. We are saying that we don't produce enough, but even the little we produce, it's been taken away. Because they will sell more at higher price in those other countries. So it's a catch-22 situation. We have not been able to be self-sufficient in food production, but even there are middlemen who mop up food at, I learned people now buy a whole farm produce. They are the one that will even go and harvest. They just say, okay, this is your farm. They will take a walk and say, okay, I'm paying 1 million naira for everything on this farm. You get? So they will be the one to get people to harvest, to transport, and all of that. So the farmer just gets his money up front. So these middlemen are the ones that now determine the price. And that's why you saw the statement made by the Governor Bago of Niger State that he does not want anybody coming to buy bulk purchase and take out of Niger State, because people of Niger also want to eat. So it's the law of demand and supply. I think that what will eventually crash the food price is mass production, if we are able to produce more. And I've suggested that Nigerian military, Nigerian police should get involved in agriculture. You know why I'm saying that? It's funny, but in retrospection, you see the wisdom in what I'm saying. If farmers are being abducted on their farm, and they are running away, coming to Abuja, running ayata to towns and urban centers. If a military has, let's say, 10 acres of farm, are you not sure that there will be guarantee of security in those places? So they will be able to secure those farms, even if it's to feed the members of the Nigerian military or Nigerian police. That will take that segment out of the local market where all of us are shopping from. So I feel that they can also get, even if it's as a pilot, we can have the Nigerian, because Nigerian military is not just about shooting and killing and armed conflict. It's also about humanitarian services. You see that some of them even go to communities to give
Okay,
medical.
so I really wanted to, because it's a discussion that, it's an ongoing discussion. Of course, we'll still talk more about it. And one of the things that you said about the Niger state government, I think the governors also need to do more than just talking rhetoric on TV. So